We have a quarterback coming back. We have a tennis player caught for doping. And then, of course, we got a bunch of leagues run by a bunch of scumbags. Hello and welcome to The House That Happens, sponsored by Shoey's Barn Grill, recorded at Shoey's Barn Grill, the only place to be in suburban Etobicoke, voted 4 times the best dive bar in all the GTA. It's the Phoenix rising from the ashes. Hi, I'm Andrew Milani.
Hi, my name's Cruz.
Cruz, how's your week?
I think it's really, really good. We should let everybody know we kind of weren't in the house for the last couple of weeks for a variety of reasons.
Well, we were in San Francisco last week.
We were there, yeah, that was pretty good, and they know all that. So it's good to be back in the house, as naked as it is.
Yes.
You know what it is?
Not quite going to be back for football season, but there's always hockey season.
You used the word Phoenix, did you not?
Yes, sir.
So everybody in my neighborhood, come listen to my show, because if I had a beer for every time someone stopped me on the street in this neighborhood saying, "When is Shoey's opening, Cruz?" I'd be in rehab.
Oh, shoot.
I'd be in rehab. How was your week?
Not bad.
I heard you saw an outstanding movie last night. Did you not?
Yeah, I went to go see It Ends With Us last night. A depressing movie.
Okay, so that means when my wife asked me to go to that movie, because she has brought it up, I'm going to veto it. Sound like a good idea?
It's based on like a book, and it's like there's like so many coincidences. Like the level of that is insane, and like.
Well, the part of it, when we don't have to bring it up, the part of it that I heard the gist of when I kind of heard a review or seen something on TV, it was already a sad premise for me.
Yeah, it's about an abusive relationship at its core.
Yeah, so when I thought that, I go, what kind of fun is that? I've never been in. I don't go there. You know what I mean? It never entered my mind, so to speak. But hey, I'm glad you had a good time out. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, it was funny. There was one character that looked older as a teenager than he did as an adult, so that's always fun to see when the casting happens like that.
Talk to the makeup people?
Yeah, and there's a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff that was really fun, too.
Oh, okay.
Seems like Blake Lively kind of took the movie away from the director, and he's pissed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of like Blake Lively.
She's okay.
I kind of like her.
Yeah.
Like when I see her on shows and shit, when she talks, she seems to have a little bit of, I don't know, spunk to her. Is that the word you use? I don't want to insult any women. I want to say the right thing that I'm.
How is spunky offensive?
I'm just making sure. This is 2024.
Spunky?
I don't know.
People are taking offense to spunk?
I'm scared. I'm old. I'm not woke. I say things that get me in trouble about every 3 hours, okay? In any event, anything else you want to say? We got any shout-outs?
No. I'm going camping with the boys tomorrow. Going to Wendigo Lake in Algonquin. Very excited for that for 2 nights, which is why we're doing this early.
Okay, that's cool too. And not only that, I do believe you'll be keeping the vibe alive.
Absolutely.
That's a good thing. That's all we got to know. And I'll bet you have plenty of places to find on the way to indulge in a little keeping the vibe alive.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
More than one, perhaps.
I got a shout out that you're going to like.
Okay.
I want to shout out to Bill Belichick coming on McAfee every Monday. People, run to your TV and listen to Bill Belichick off the cuff. Ask him anything about football. And this is like going to Harvard.
Right.
When you're done listening to no, it's not like that, Pat. And then when they get off and he goes off, all the boys are quiet for a minute going, did you hear what he just said? I never even thought of that. Holy cow. What about this?
So he's there like on like video call, basically.
Yeah, he's on. Yeah, it's a Zoom call every Monday. And
okay.
I would say there's not much CTV on TV all the time because it's just regurgitated
nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but please, big shout out to Bill Belichick on McAfee. I've seen him twice. Highly entertained. Highly informative. He is nothing like the guy that sits at the microphone during press conference, because that's one of the things you got to deal with people that are idiots. Mm-hmm. And he's never said that, but he said that. Okay.
I like to make a shout out to my nono. We celebrated his 90th birthday last weekend.
Big shout out, 90.
Yeah.
That goes well for the Milani family.
He's doing well. He's in great shape. Happy about the Matthews captaincy.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Big shout out. I hope to meet him someday. That's a great long life to another 90.
Exactly.
To another 90. You know.
Ate some Portuguese chicken. Was a good time.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like good. A little vino with it?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, of course.
I'm the wine guy now.
Oh, that's what am I saying?
Any more shout outs?
Maybe we should shout out. We are in Etobicoke, north of Etobicoke. I do believe in about 15 kilometers from here is where Joey Votto
yes.
baseball. Big shout out to Joey Votto's retirement. I thought his message was amazing. Did you see his?
The one about the cab and whatever is like, are you a player? Is like, no, or something like that.
No, he said, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
Sorry, fans, I really wanted to do this, but I'm not good enough.
No, but like his initial tweet was just something like, yeah, I got in a car, whatever, and the driver asked me, are you a player? And he's just like, no. That was his retirement announcement.
What a great, like, that's why we love Votto. Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
He
has to be.
I've seen some numbers that have come up, but then I think about Dave Parker and Don Mattingly, and I go, wait a second here, what? Because, anyways, that's for another day.
The media, Votto's well liked by the media, so let's not forget who votes the guys into, right?
You brought up that angle. That's the one that irritates me the most. But if I had
but it's for our guy.
If I was voting, I don't know, first ballot, depends on who's on
that first ballot stuff is nonsense. It's either is he in or he in.
You're going to be in.
Yeah.
I deserve to be in. We would be remiss if we did not shout out to Mr. Kevin Pick.
Yes. Excellent on the show last week.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to get him on for the football preview and perhaps a reoccurring appearance during the football season so he can enhance our show with his Pixian, what would you call it, jargon? Did you hear that, Kev? I'm talking about you very highly. You know what I'm saying, buddy? We're really on. Hey, tell him, Andrew. It was great.
No, he was fantastic.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it a lot. And not only that, everybody should know by now, and we're going to keep pumping it one more time, that the MCM coming up on September 17th. 14th. All is welcome. It's to a great cause. And
Granite Ridge Golf Course in Milton.
Yes, it is, to the Jay's Care Foundation.
Yep.
And not only that, you have a chance to win $10,000.
That's for the hole-in-one contest, right?
Yeah, something like that. So hope we all see you at Granite Ridge. Big shout out to, I should say Tanya Waters, but I forget her maiden name. I mean, her new name, she's married. But to Tanya, Jana Lee Freeman, these Guardian Angels are doing amazing job getting the sponsors and all the cool goodies that are going to come with the tournament. So we're going to remind everybody about that.
It's going to be a shotgun start at 12 noon. Dinner and reception to follow. $200. You get golf cart, welcome gift, coffee and donuts on arrival, and, of course, the dinner.
Great dinner, by the way.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time.
Not only that. Any more? I got one more shout out.
Go for it.
I think it's really, really been a topic of conversation, not just in our country, but more of an embarrassment of our country, but the continuing saga of the drone spying at the Olympics on our soccer team, the women's soccer team. And I was very glad to hear this week two of the players, Gabby Carl, and I believe her name is Evelyn Viens, two significant parts of this team, defending gold medal championships, said they were completely fooled by the whole Bev Pressman presentation. What we're doing, Priestman, with the whole thing. They were deceived. When they talked to other people, they said, no, we're all good. This is how we're going to handle it. And we didn't even get perhaps what they were saying in the room and what they were telling us is obviously a fraud.
Right.
Which cost our girls what? 6 points, and God bless them for making it to the next level. Tough loss against a tough opponent. But the fact that they were put so far behind the eight ball is like, we should remember. The girls got hurt here, people. You know what I mean? We might never hear of Beth Priestman again.
Hopefully not.
Oh, really? And a couple other people up the ladder.
Absolutely.
Time's coming. But the bottom line is every time these girls go out to play in a friendly or a competition, they're going to have to hear from crowds for shit.
Maybe other players too.
Other players too, for shit that they were completely left in the cold about. This ain't the Astros.
No.
Okay?
This wasn't player run. This was coaches.
Yeah, that's
running
what I'm
the show
saying.
here.
So I'm big support here from the House That Happens. We hope things get cleaned up because we're tired about hearing bullshit in our soccer programs when we should be advancing to a level where we're world class.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So there's a Netflix documentary that came out about Steve Ayr McNair.
I don't want to watch it.
So he was a little bit before my time. So Radica was actually asking me about it. So how good of a player was he?
He was 6 inches from going over the goal line to beat the greatest show on turf. Mm-hmm. I think his thing was he got fat physically, okay? Because he started getting beaten up. But he was very strong. He was very mobile. He had a good arm. what would he be in the league right now? Let me just say, I think that there would be at least 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now that would be better than Steve McNair. Mm-hmm. But at the time, he was all pro. He does not have the credentials to get into the Hall of Fame.
No.
He only went to one conference championship. He only went to one Super Bowl. How many quarterbacks have done that? The thing is, Radika, if you're listening to me, be prepared for a very sad and shocking story. Because I know the whole Steve McNair thing, and I probably won't watch it because they had a little bit on it before, and I know the story. So I'm one of those guys that I like to be an unseen guy. If I see it, you can't unsee anything. So, Radek, I'm going to tell you right now, my wife is dying to see it because she knows that, and everybody wants to know about the minutia. It's a sad story. Very sad story, and it's very unfortunate. I won't be watching it.
Okay. The only thing I knew about Steve McNair, besides this unfortunate tragic death, is he was on the cover of Madden.
Because he had that great year. Yeah. And he went, like I said, he was 6 inches. Did you see the famous play?
Oh, yeah, of course. That's like on every SportsCenter top 10.
Okay, that's what I mean. He just missed. And he was good, and he led them there. And he didn't have a lot of great players. Tennessee had a good defense in Eddie George. Mm-hmm. That helped a lot. I'm saying he was a solid guy. Like, if you were starting your season right now and McNair was in his prime, you wouldn't be bitching about him. I would say he's a little bit in between, like, he was a Lamar Deshaun, maybe.
Okay.
Mobile, a little bit bigger than both of them.
Deshaun in his prime, not Deshaun now.
No. But Deshaun could come back. He's not even 30. That's the story for another time.
Well, that's another thing. San Fran Sluggers.
Are you guys listening? How many times I tell you? You can't be smoking cigarettes and drinking beer when the other team is warming up.
Legit?
What?
Legit?
Yeah, they're warming up.
No, but like legit, like the smokes and beers?
I'm not going to mention names, but...
Wow.
Okay, so now we know this. They're fresh, they're ready to go. They're dying to get at us. They beat us last time. We've got a great rivalry with them. We showed up flat. You're right, Matty Kern, we didn't hit. I had a horrible game, personally. My rib was killing me, but that's another story. Tried to make plays before I did. Mm-hmm. Should have just taken outs and I got nothing. But our defense was atrocious. Our batting lineup was suspect, even though John Bellardi, our good Italian buddy at number 2, is great. I say go back to stack the lineup, define who plays defense, and come focused, guys. We got one game left. If we lose, we're out. If we win, we go to the finals after all of this. But I'm going to continue this. Sluggers are a great group of guys. We had a little trouble with adversity. If we all show up focused and play our game, play Sluggers defense, and not let Corey McDonald carry the team on our backs. Everybody just contribute, including myself. And I think that we'll be fine. It's only one game. We've been solid. Let's push it on another thing. Pedro's our pitcher. And you know what? Pedro's been pitching great, too, by the way. Let's help Pedro out. Vote for Pedro. Okay, let's do this. So I'm not going to go on much about the Sluggers. We're all going to talk. Everybody, these guys, you know what it is, Melania, every time before we have a game, I go out, you ask my wife, I take my dog to the park, I swing the bat, I warm up, I hit, I stretch, and then I go to the game. I usually do it 2 times before, 2 days in a row before I go. Half these guys don't even pick up a glove or a bat in between games. So I'm calling you all out as a good crew of guys, and we'll talk about it at San Fran over beers. Let's be focused, sharp, and ready to go, and we can beat anybody in this league.
So your last game is on Tuesday?
Tuesday. If we win, we got to play the team that just beat us last night.
You know what? Send me the details for that. I might show up.
Okay, CAA.
I'll try and show up.
Okay, that would be cool. I need my accomplice there. You know what I mean? Sluggers, let's go. Corey, you're amazing once again. Corey's been amazing. Pedro got 2 outs by himself, and he's a pitcher in 1 inning.
Wow. And
we gave up 4 runs. Cruz made a crucial error, but that's another story.
It's okay.
Yeah, we'll get there. Sluggers, go.
Let's go Sluggers. So one story we've been following here at the House That Happens is the Amin Khalif controversy from the Olympics. We talked about the lawsuit last weekend. Well, now it's come out some names that have been named in the lawsuit, most notably J.K. Rowling and Elon Musk. Not surprisingly, I've heard the Paul brothers too were named.
But one guy contributed some money recently, I heard.
To defend them?
Some kind of woman's, I don't know.
For who? For which side?
It's just a rumor now that he says, but until we know the facts, that he wants to put some money forward to advance whatever's going on in that part of women's sports, so it'll be more transparent, so to speak, I guess. But continue.
And then Trump will also be investigated, but I don't think he's officially named in the lawsuit, if I read correctly.
Trump will be named for everything, so let's just keep him out of it. Just stop that. And that clown show going on in Chicago right now called the Democratic National Convention, but that's another story.
That's another story, yeah.
100%. But you had some interesting quotes, I heard, concerning these so-called leaders of international boxing federations.
Yeah, the IBA just straight up called the head of the IOC a sodomite on camera.
That's insane.
It is insane.
Did they do it in English?
It was in Russian.
But, because they're all... So that's why...
But the word for sodomite, it's very close. So when he says it, you're like, oh.
That's just rough. And you know what? We're supposed to trust these people in regulating who goes in the ring.
I mean, the moment you start name calling, you've lost
it's over.
To me, you've lost.
Yeah, it's going to go on there. What I'm going to hope to do is that someone presents some kind of DNA or some kind of, I don't know what they're going to present so that we can let this go to rest.
Well, hasn't it been proven that she was just born a woman?
Something like that. There's a chromosome issue. I don't understand it.
That's not proven, though.
That's what I'm saying. And so I'm going to say she won her medal. She won it fair and square.
She was in the last Olympics too with no problem.
There you go.
That's the weird part about this.
Yeah, that is the one fact when it came up made me go, whoa. But the bottom line is, I'm just going to say this. One Russian talking to another and letting them run organizations during the world in the history of my lifetime says that usually does not work out in a good way. So here we are again. Rush Q,
So here we are.
0-0. Good luck to her in the future and to all women they're doing good things in women's sports.
Nicely said. We'll move this on to tennis, where Jannik Sinner, the number 1 ranked player in the world, got caught for doping not once, but twice. But it was deemed accidental, so he's still allowed to play. How does this make sense?
Stop it right now, okay? Can we say the number 1 ranked, we're Italian, Jannik Sinner? How come that doesn't even sound Italian?
He's from the north with the...
Is that the excuse you're going to use?
What do you mean excuse?
This is
you go to northern Italy, you get a lot of guys with last names that don't sound Italian.
Okay, that's cool. I'm just being devil's advocate here. But let's listen to this, people. Here's what happened. His trainer bought an over-the-counter stuff with that. What's it called? Costa Ball?
Something like that,
Some weird performance-enhancing drug on every list known to mankind, okay, who said... he got it for his masseuse who had a cut on his hand. He applied it to his hand to relieve the laceration on his finger and proceeded to massage Mr. Skinner without wearing gloves. And this guy tested positive twice for a well-known anabolic steroid? Stop it.
Yeah, it's suspicious. It's fishy.
It's double standard. Let's talk about it, okay? So what's he going to lose? $420,000 from the Indian Wells tournament, and he lost his 400 points rankings in the rankings, which might whether or not say he's going to be the number 1 seed at the U.S. Open, which
he's still going to be a high enough seed.
Oh, that's why they need him there, because it's the next generation. You can't have the number 1 guy in the world sitting on the sidelines when you're trying to get to the next generation past Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic, who's going one more time. So you want competition for Djokovic, and it's already coming up online. I'm not going to name names. You go fact check it, but a lot of the players are saying double standard.
Oh, yeah.
What's your ranking? What is the tournament? Now, if there was enough time in between majors, they would have probably made him sit out to Cincinnati. Oh, by the way, Cincinnati and Indian Wells are the tournaments just below the majors.
Right.
Okay? By the way, how did he do at Cincinnati?
Did he win?
He won Cincinnati, and everybody knew that he had 2 tests. The other excuse was this. They tested him during a non-performance time. Can you help me out with this? I'll let you help me out with this part. When is it not performance time when you got the majors running from the French Open to the U.S. Open?
Australian Open to the U.S. Open.
Okay, but there's a bigger gap there. But but let's just say from the French Open to the U.S. Open and include what the 2 tournaments I said, Indian Wells and Cincinnati, and he got caught when a non-performance time? When was a non-performance time?
I don't know.
Did he hang out with the F1 guys when they were taking August off? Oh no, this is August, so he was playing in India. He was playing in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
This is one of the most ludicrous examples of a federation or a whatever sport you're talking about wanting the eyeballs on their tournament, and they don't want to take away one of the gems, so to speak. So let's put this in comparison. Do you know Fernando Tatis?
Yeah.
He got 82 games for the same drug with less of a testing. Like he just got one test. When they redid it, they said, oh, no, we got you. 82 games. So isn't performance-enhancing drugs and suspensions go hand in hand? Isn't that we're supposed to legitimize?
That's what they tell us.
Oh, let's not get political. Because I heard a lot of things the Democrats said last night that I had to turn my TV off on because I'm going, I can't believe that. And I can't believe this. This is ludicrous. He did not wear gloves when he massaged the man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And the guy what did he do? Shove it up his rectum? This is insane. I don't know. I'm very skeptical. I liked his playing. I thought this guy, and he is one of the guys that's coming. But when I watch him play now, don't you think I'm going to have to look at him a little bit different?
For sure. At least for the time being.
Yeah, I'll try not to, and everybody makes a mistake.
We'll see.
Good luck.
Good luck. Maybe he'll just go on an amazing string here, just win every tournament.
They'll be taking blood. No, he'll be pissing in bottles after everything. He'll be leaving the bar. They'll make him piss in a bottle. Come on. Anyways, for the greatness of the sport and level playing field, come on, guys. And the federations that are running it, don't give us these dog and pony shows. That's ridiculous.
Right. We will move this along to the Caitlin Clark WNBA report, where is she leaving everyone just in her trails for Rookie of the Year?
Oh, my God. Now there's just no talk about it anymore, isn't there?
No.
You know what I mean? God bless Angel Reese and her amazing season. If we had no Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese would be having a rookie season of the ages, but we got Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. I mean, Caitlin Clark, 4.2 points per game more, and she's leading the league in assists. Still getting a lot of turnovers, but I mean...
Most points by a rookie in the history of the NBA. WNBA. Now moved into the top 10 of scoring. Just beat the Seattle team on national TV to move, 2 games up on a playoff spot, and with 9 games left, their schedule is pretty well over an opportunity them to go over 500 if they play on their current pace, which doesn't mean anything, but if they could do, if you look at their schedule, it probably says that. But here's the 2 things that she should always be saying. We say first it's her performance on the court. We got that in spades. Go look at the numbers, people. Yeah. Look what she's done on the court, because that's number 1. However, there's another little factor that people often have to remember, because what's the Kornheiser say?
The rising tide that floats all boats.
She is moving the ocean right now. Sunday's game against the Seattle Aces, is that what they're called, I believe?
Seattle Storm.
Had the highest TV viewership in the history of the WNBA at a peak of 2.9 million people were watching the game, people. I'd like to know how many were watching the Yankees in Cleveland last night on TV in baseball. Not only that, the previous record was set in the game just before the Olympics when I think she played Angel Reese at a peak of 2.6 million. The highest game ever in the history of the WNBA, I believe, was not quite 1 million before Caitlin Clark. Is that
funny how that happens?
Rookie of the Year, Fortune 500, endorsements out the wazoo.
Come on,
why not? And not only that, she looks like the girl next door. Knock her mother down in the lane to get an assist. Girl's tougher than nails. Character-wise, on the court-wise, all the things that she's had to put up with. How's that happens? Who's our Rookie of the Year in the WNBA?
It's got to be Caitlin Clark. That's what I've been saying since day 1, basically.
But I had to play it out. Angel Reese had a good run there. She did. She doing her thing, but come on.
She's leading the league in rebounds.
Yep. So, no. We're Caitlin Clark. We have the Caitlin Clark report.
Yep. For a reason.
Bless you, good. You got it.
We'll take this along to Formula One, where we are back this weekend in Zandvoort in the Netherlands, where Max Verstappen looks to extend his lead. But he says, interestingly enough, that he's basically in the back half of his Formula One career.
How old is he? 26?
I believe he's the same age as my brother, so like 26, 27.
So he's raced now for 6 years, right?
Longer.
Okay, so then he probably is. Most guys drive about 15 years, right? So technically he is. Okay.
Yeah, but it sounds like he might even retire a little bit earlier. Like,
spend that money, bro.
Well, it sounds like he wants to get into other kinds of racing too.
I heard that.
I could see him doing some of the endurance stuff, maybe some rally car.
Yeah, just because to pique his interest in other things.
If he ends up winning Le Mans, I mean, he's going to have to go to Indianapolis and try and get the Triple Crown.
Oh, that would be
Only
fun.
one driver's ever done it.
Yeah, who is that? What's his name? The
oh my God,
English guy?
Oh my God, we looked this up the other day, didn't we? Graham Hill. I think he's the only one.
Oh yeah, the English guy.
Yeah.
I think he's the guy. In any event, I'm glad we always have. But when we're doing this, I've always got criticized a bit by people that know me very well and what a sporting guy I am. And as we've said, I've now advanced where I'm about to ready to join high school in my understanding of F1. And the more you peel back the onion, the more interesting this sport gets.
Yes.
Okay. But first of all, I want to shout out to something that I did not know about, and it's called the female quotient in the F1 Academy.
Well, it's all women in F1 Academy.
Yeah. I think that's just the coolest thing, because what they're trying to do is train women so they can have the opportunity to maybe race at a place like, how do you call this, Zandvoort?
Yeah, Zandvoort. I don't know if a woman's ever going to get into F1 though, and if she does, I don't think she's going to be any good, to be honest.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, not me. I said opportunity.
It's men and women. Like it's
G-force.
Yeah, everything.
Time. That's what I'm getting at. But that doesn't take away from the fact that this sport has become all inclusive in a big way, just like the PWHL,
sure.
WNBA. I think all these things are good, because if they can get what would you call it, a modicum of competition that's good for the viewers, the better off that we are.
Yeah, who's watching F1 Academy, though? From what I understand, the racing's not very good.
You're killing me. You're just killing me. Okay, do you remember that's Milani on that side of the microphone?
I thought you weren't a fan of DEI.
What's that? I'm not going there yet.
That's what F1 Academy is.
I'm all about equality. I'm all about having a chance on a fair level. How do you put that? So we will not talk about my DEI scenarios right now, okay? Trying to catch me up, aren't you? Son of a gun, you. But in any event.
I'm just saying.
Just saying. There's so many things that go on in F1 that we're going this weekend that are coming up that just blow my mind. Like, I'm trying to still get my head around about why Sands went to Williams. Like, I've been trying to get...
All the good seats were gone. It didn't sound like the Mercedes seat was going to be there for him.
No, because they...
So it was either there, Sauber, or Haas. That was basically it. Or Alpine, but...
Okay, they're having issues too. But the bottom line is, I think it's very interesting, because that little factor, like we already know where Lewis Hamilton's going next year, and that kind of boggles my mind how you get there. However, I just think that the politics of the game sometimes gets in the way of Sands getting a seat either, because these guys have built their little countries. And you weren't there when the foundation or whatever, and the car is moving along. Because Sands is a great driver. Mm-hmm. Don't you think so?
Sure.
I think he's like...
Multiple-time race winner.
Thank you very much. So I find that interesting. The situation with Perez and Red Bull, and the fact that they got over all that battery charge, penalties, made some adjustment, did some wing things. The next two tracks, especially this one, may be designed more for the Red Bull car as opposed to the Ferrari or the Mercedes
Well, for
car.
sure this is one of the ones that Red Bull circles.
Yeah, okay. So, but I'm saying just down the road, we got a couple races from now where the track is different, and I'm learning the engineering parts of the game, where you can maximize the design of your car, because not every track's the same. I find it absolutely fascinating what each little team is doing to jerk their car according to the race and the speed that they have. But after this year, who's got the fastest car on the track this year?
It's Red Bull, but McLaren's got a good argument.
If you look at the actual statistics, it's like freaking the 100-meter dash in the Olympics this year. the difference in speed is that close. I did not know that. I thought they were going to say that. What it's turned out to be and this year is it's much more competitive than we expected. But at the same time, it gets back to strategies. And McLaren has nobody else to blame but themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
For some of the strategy moves that they've made and not to get them there. However, it's only 42 points.
That's a lot.
In the constructors?
Yeah.
9 races to go, bro.
42, that's huge, though.
What if you have a double stack win?
Okay, that's a tall ask, though.
This weekend, technically, mathematically...
I know, blowing 42 points, that's not nothing, especially when you're in a tight title fight.
Theoretically, and I don't expect it to happen because I expect Max to win, McLaren could pass Red Bull this weekend with points. It's mathematically possible.
They could.
Okay, I don't think it's going to.
No, I'd be shocked if it happened this early.
It would just make the rest of the season mad chaos because that would mean that Ferrari and Mercedes would move up too because technically when you think about it, your boys in Ferrari aren't out of it yet.
No, but I mean...
Still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. So in any event, the reason I'm bringing that up is because I already see that some of these guys are trying to pull points in this race because they think they're going to get more points in this race down the road. I haven't been thinking of the chess part of F1, and it's not only the highest level competition in the world, it's an amazing game of chess. Isn't it not?
Sure.
That's the way I'm looking at it. The other thing that I found out about, and maybe you can help me out with this, is that when they adjust these cars, they got to have the weight, they can only have so much power, and they only have so much torque. The word of the day is torque. Okay? How Red Bull seems to generate a little bit more torque than the other teams to get the speed that they get at, I don't know. They call that engineering. That's why this guy tries to sneak over to this team and this team.
Right.
Okay, I got all of that. So now they're saying that what they're doing is they're adjusting something called, do I even say it right? Asymmetric braking torque.
Asymmetric braking torque,
How do you say that again?
Asymmetric.
Braking torque. Can you describe to our audience what that is?
Nope.
I can. This is what happens when you're in the car. You have a brake system that's supposed to be just about equal for the back end and the front end. So when you apply your brakes, you can only get this much pressure on one axle or the other, but it can't exceed, it's like one can be 48, one can be 52.
Right.
Okay, there's some kind of range that you're in there. So what they're saying is they're adjusting it now so that you have to absolutely balance your torque on both axles. And if you get caught, that's going to be...
Oh, big poo-poo.
Oh, in a big way. So anyways, they said this might affect Red Bull. And I thought to myself, why is it going to affect Red Bull? Well, I've seen Max Verstappen pull some moves this year that have absolutely amazed me, and it had to do with speed, brake, and torquing. So when do you get to check this? What do they do? Run under the hood after the thing? Like, I don't, that science part I don't get.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could be audited at any time, I think.
Well, anyway, they were saying that it's such a fine line in what you're doing. If you're caught, it's going to be a mad penalty. Like the word's been out to every team. You can't do this anymore. And it's suddenly come up because there's always whispers. It's like any other work. Gossip starts. What are those guys doing over at Red Bull? So they're saying that adjustment might affect the ability of Red Bull to keep the speed ahead of everybody else. It's all science, people. It's all engineering. I hope that didn't sound boring, but what that tells me is that these motherfuckers, they play for keeps.
That's F1.
That's F1 at its finest, I think, when it's going to go down. But my prediction is Matt's going to roar to victory, you know what I mean? And he's going to pee into the wind as he's going by the car because he's in his home country. They still have the fastest car. The design is great. They're even moving something on the wings that they're allowed to do. You have certain wing arrangements. They're changing it differently. What the other teams don't know if it's going to be effective for their car. So I'm expecting a great race.
Should be fun. Looking very much forward to that.
I hope you guys all enjoyed that. Please take a look at F1 because the more I look at it, it's maybe one of the greatest reality shows in the year. And I would rather watch F1 than WWE any day of the week.
Okay. We'll move this along to Toronto FC. Back in action on Saturday at Houston. Still hanging on to that final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, but it's do or die time now for the Reds.
So here's the situation, people. I've taken a look at this. First of all, why doesn't this team score? Okay, I looked at the leading...
They put all their eggs into the Insigne Bernadeschi baskets.
Oh, but he does have 8 goals.
Who?
Bernadeschi.
Okay, how about Insigne? He's the higher paid player.
Couldn't find him on the list.
I think he's got 4.
6 or 4. The leader's got 18, 19. Like, we don't even have anybody on the front page of the scoring to start, so that's just...
Yeah, Insigne 4 goals.
Yeah, 4 goals, okay? So that's 12 goals out of how much money? If that was in the NHL, that's like paying Nylander and Matthews to score 4 goals? Come on. That's there. But here's what I'm banking on. They got 9 games to go, okay? 6 at BMO.
12 games.
12? I thought I counted 9.
No, it's a 38-game season.
I would count again, see how many they got left. And I think it might only be 9.
No, that would be an odd number of games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, 8. My bad.
No, but then there's the one that's coming on the weekend. There's 8 after
that.
Yeah,
no, that's 8. That's including that.
Okay, right?
Because that would take them to 34. So.
Okay, so as I was saying, I made a mistake. They got 8.
I made a mistake too.
8 games left. Okay, I checked this out. I thought it was 9, but it's 8. 5 are at BMO or 6 are at BMO. I do believe 5 or 6 are at BMO. They're not going to beat New York. They're not going to beat Miami. They're not going to beat Columbus. Maybe they can beat Columbus at home, but I doubt it. They're the defending champions.
Well, Miami, that's the last game of the season, so Miami could be resting guys.
I thought of that too. Good point, because then that may give them a chance in there. Because if you look at the people breathing up their back and their schedules look a little bit more favorable because they're playing like those DC guys and those Washington guys, who Toronto have too. They got 3 teams that are well under 500 that are playing in 2 at BMO. So I'm saying they got what, about a 50-50 shot of making the playoffs still?
Well, I mean, so there's the 8-9 playoff spot. They're a playing game. So right now there's chances would be pretty good to make it into that, but then that's still a playoff game that you got to win just to make it to the conference quarters.
What's this little club league in the middle of the season? I don't get that. All these leagues have these little tournaments in the middle.
Yeah.
And I just
that's soccer.
That's another thing that goes right over my head, but okay. In any event, I'll have to figure that out before I die. Like, oh, you have a tournament within a tournament within a tournament. Okay. Because when's the season off? Soccer doesn't turn off, really.
Well, MLS goes, I think the playoffs end in December, which I think is way too late, but...
I do too, especially here in Toronto, because you're not know what the weather is and anything. But anyways, all we're saying is this. Get a scorer, which is too late to do, and on this pace, I'm expecting next spring, every time I talk about Toronto FC, I'll be saying, come on, guys, use that money. Use that money. Keep the BMO crowd happy, because this is just a sad season.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yep.
Let's move this along to the CFL, where... much to my surprise, and I don't know if it was to your surprise too, Chad Kelly accepted the last chance clause and was back at practice on Sunday. So he's going to be back playing with the Argos tonight.
Starting quarterback tonight, big game. They got to get moving.
Saskatchewan,
you got it, and not only that, because with the Rough Riders, Ottawa Rough Riders looking at 6-2-1.
Ottawa Red Blacks
at the 6-2-1. We got to be worried about where the Toronto Argonauts position is going to be going into the playoffs.
No, absolutely, because we've talked about this before, they have a great home record.
Yeah.
If the way it stands now, Toronto would have to go into Ottawa for the first playoff game, and that's not good news.
No, and not only that, let's take it one step further here, okay? I'm not surprised that Kelly is playing the first game back. I said that a couple shows ago, due to the fact it's the Argos, eyes on the CFL, want a franchise in the playoffs, all the politics that we talk about going on with an organization that twists things just like the tennis people are twisting things. To make a long story short, I was kind of surprised that the absolute no detail on the contract. Now, I told this, especially I told my wife this when she asked me what to say about this. We have determined that this guy's a scumbag. Chad Kelly's a scumbag. Bad human being. What I'm worried about, no, I'm not worried about, is what I would like to understand is that what kind of precedent is this setting, and how big did the brush blur? You know what I mean?
What do you mean, how big did it blur?
okay, we don't know what incidents that could go on that could cause him to leave the league. And obviously the CFL...
I imagine if he does something bad, it's going to be subject to review.
So my point is this. I believe that the CFL Players Association has no legs in this. So remember that when you're talking about how great your union is, CFL. I'm just hoping it doesn't set a precedent for... We don't know. I just thought there'd be more details. The press conference was a dog and pony show, like we knew.
Yeah.
Everything here it is. And I'm saying it's always about getting that guy back on the field because we got to be winning and more fans down at BMO and television ratings and we are the Argos and all that. Let's not forget one thing in all these issues. We did have somebody that had to take a lot of abuse to get here. So, Mr. Chad Kelly, make us proud. Make us forget about this incident. And play football.
Absolutely.
I think that he's going to perform very well tonight because here's what happens when you have to play in a football field, and you've been hearing it about all preseason in the NFL. You got to have reps. You got to practice. So that boy, Nathan Rourke, flew into BC on Friday, jumped on the field on Sunday, and guess what happened?
Oh, he was terrible.
Absolutely. And not that he was terrible. He was rusty. Throwing one guy's going one way, passes going the other way. As soon as you see that shit, you just go, okay, not enough reps in practice. So sometimes I think it's funny that when franchises jump to do something, maybe they should have brought, the other guy in, the Jenkins guy in. We don't know what happened to him. Because look at the beginning of the season. We were saying, let's go back 5 games ago. After about the 6th game, a third of the season, 6 or 7 games. We said Saskatchewan and BC were going to run away with this shit. Now, Edmonton's got a shot at the playoffs.
The West is bad.
How did Edmonton suddenly get into the picture?
The West is bad. Let me read out Rourke's stat line from Sunday. 8 for 25 completion percentage, 126 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns.
And at the end, he had a good drive, but they failed on the end of the line. Only 126 yards?
Yep.
The pass completion is ridiculous. That's the part you got to worry about. But it's just another question of you're putting a product on the field that's not ready to be put on the field. BC was panicked. I think they should have put the other guy in and gave him weak reps. By the time he came in from wherever he went to BC, there has to be a little clock thing he has to think about first. He was on the East Coast.
Either way, though, you look at the West right now. It's Saskatchewan, BC, Calgary, Winnipeg. They're all, a game and a half away from each other?
Edmonton's only 2 games out of a playoff spot.
2.5.
2.5, but still. Who would have said Edmonton, Elks, and playoffs a month ago?
Nobody.
Thank you.
And I got to give a shout out, Terry, to your Hamilton Tiger Cats who stink this year. You want me to point that out on the podcast? And
there you go.
I'll point it out for you.
Probably the most embarrassing team with Edmonton in the league this year, right?
Probably Hamilton's worse. 2-8.
Watch some wins.
At least Edmonton's got 3.
Okay, watch it. It's going to be
neither team are pretty, but.
So that means I'm going to put at least $5 down on the Labor Day Classic. Take Hamilton in the points. Just because that happens, you know what I mean? Good luck to the Argos tonight. Aren't they about to play? And they
7:30.
7:30. I hope I got my thing going. Need to win tonight, guys. And let's see what Chad Kelly's got. And I want to say this once and for all because a couple people are saying it's interesting. We're talking about the Argos will probably slow down once NFL starts. Yes, I like the original blue on blue more than the pleasant blue configuration that they're wearing right now. So let's that be known once and for all.
Okay. We'll move this along to our soccer reports, continuing off where we did last week. So I guess we'll get started in the Premier League, where my team Chelsea did not look good in their opener at Stamford Bridge against Manchester City. Just a horrible job marking Eric Haaland. I'm
picking Manchester City as a team not that I'm a Saudi guy, but I'm an Oasis guy, so I'll stick with Man U.
Man City.
Man City, yeah.
But yeah, just a horrible job leaving Haaland there, and he just picked it open there for the winner.
Yeah. But all the big teams won in the Premier League in England. Basically, Arsenal, Liverpool.
Yeah, there
Man
was
U,
no upsets.
Yeah, all the big teams won. And that was probably the biggest game of the weekend. In the Chelsea-Man City was probably one of the more marquee games to start the season.
Yeah, that was the only real big game, I would say. Mm-hmm. But why isn't it letting me?
I'm not sure. But you go through it. I got a couple things to say about soccer. La Liga, Mbappe did not get the win that he wanted to in his debut.
No.
Was it tie? I heard it was a great game. I got to start watching.
I mean, it was on the road too. So
I'll give him that. I'll give it that.
And then Barcelona won on the road at Valencia though.
That's a pretty
2-1.
big
Lewandowski, their new guy, getting 2 goals for them.
He just had a good showing in the Euros, didn't he?
Did he even score for Poland?
Yeah, he looked good.
Well, he's a great player. This team's kind of.
I remember his names were on my notes about guys that came off the screen, but Poland didn't even play in the. Did they? Yeah, they did.
They made it.
Yeah,
they didn't make it out of the group stage.
They didn't look good there. But I remember that kid. He's young too, isn't he? 22 or something?
No, Lewandowski. He's in his late 30s.
Lewandowski?
Yeah.
That's not the same guy. Not the guy I'm thinking
of. Atletico Madrid and Villarreal got in a 2-2 draw this past weekend. For Spain, it's not too many great matchups this weekend. Barcelona plays Athletic.
What would you say so just so I'm learning along the way, who are the teams what are the biggest teams in Spain? Yeah.
Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid.
What?
Atletico Madrid.
Oh, yeah, Atletico Madrid.
Those are like the big 3.
Yeah.
And then like Villarreal, Valencia are kind of like the next tier down.
Trying to get up there, yeah.
Yeah. It used to be Sevilla's up there a lot too sometimes.
I've heard the first 3 I've heard about all the time. Mm-hmm. They're always in Champions League and all those other crazy ass shit. Tournaments within tournaments that these soccer players play.
Yep. For England this weekend, Manchester City will be at Brighton. Tottenham will host Everton. We have Manchester City hosting Ipswich Town. Fulham, Leicester City, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Aston Villa, Arsenal. And then Wolverhampton will host Chelsea. And Liverpool hosts Brentford. Those are the big ones.
Okay, so here's what I don't understand about soccer. Did you see there was an incident that happened that I'm just flabbergasted over? And let me get this straight. This was Newcastle and Southampton.
Okay.
They were playing. There was this particular guy named Fabian Scheer who got bum rushed by some yo-yo from Southampton named Brenton Diaz. He came up behind the guy and forcibly shoved him in the back.
Oh, my God.
Till he went flat on his face. So Mr. Fabian Scheer, who jumped up and looked at the guy and said what was going on, leaned over to the guy and put his forehead to forehead with the guy. And Mr. Brayton did a 2.5 twist in a pike position to hit the freaking ground. They looked at it on video review, tried to say it was a headbutt. Everybody in North America and in Europe seen it. There was no headbutt. This guy hit the ground. So the guy who did the initial shove got a yellow card. The guy that looked at him with his head like that got a red card.
For just looking at the guy?
They did, like, he went like this, and like their heads came together, but it was because one guy was looking at the other guy, so the other guy went over like this, and as soon as their heads, I don't know if their heads touched, but this guy, this schmuck from Southampton, hit the ground. Go look for the replay.
The dive was worse than,
I could, and then when they looked at
Welcome to soccer.
And when they did the video replay, that guy gets a yellow card, the other guy gets thrown out. I went, what's going on here? I watched it before. I go, you're kidding me. This is what drives me crazy about soccer. That guy should be thrown out just for the clown show about the fake headbutt. You know what I mean? How is that the highest level of competition when you guys got guys flopping like that? And I didn't say it was Italian, so we're good, okay? I'm leaving that out of it. I'm going to check where he's from. But in any event, that really...
Okay, but in basketball, we see some bad dives, too.
Yeah, but now they're cleaning it up. When you're doing basketball, they just say, hey,
well,
buddy.
they're cleaning it up in soccer, too.
They went to the VAR.
Yeah, but if you touch heads, I can see why that's an automatic red card.
Well, they're not sure if they touched heads. It was so close that they're not sure. Like, there was no...
they have better cameras than we do, the referees.
In any event, I thought this was one of the most fraudulent things I've seen all week, and it's going to be in my top 10 fraudulent things I've seen all year.
Okay.
But any event, I'm going to try to watch more soccer. I got a bunch of guys on the Slugger that are big soccer guys. Yep. And they're all talking about it all the time, so we'll keep you there.
Yeah, AC Milan is going to visit Parma. Inter Milan is hosting Lecce.
Oh, yeah, I can't forget that league.
Fiorentina is going to host Venezia. Venezia is now one of their new... people investing them as Drake, apparently.
Oh, right. Yeah, I heard that.
Torino, Atalanta, Roma, Empoli. And then Juventus will go to Hellas Verona. In Germany, it's the opening of Bundesliga, where we have, Mönchengladbach hosting Bayer Leverkusen, which is they're the defending champions this year.
Yep.
Germany, I guess we'll throw this out there. There's really like just two big teams.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund.
That's how Germany works. Once you're at the top, we ain't letting you out.
Munich's going to be at Wolfsburg, and then Dortmund's hosting Eintracht Frankfurt.
I'm going to try to put some pesos on Saturday when they come on after a couple of weeks of watching this, because I go and look at the scores and see what. That's why I'm asking traditionally what are the big teams. Mm-hmm. So I'll just take a chance, and then I'll just stick to Man City right now, which someone's going to eventually say, did you see the uniforms they wear, Chris? Did you see the color of Man City's uniforms? Don't you ever...
The baby blue?
Yeah, someone's going to call me out on that very soon. I know that. But what do you think about the Dog and Pony Show this week when they announced the 10 best... you know how like we have that thing in baseball where they have their city jerseys?
Okay.
They lined up, the Juventus was number one.
What, just best jerseys?
Some new alternate jerseys.
I didn't see the new alternates.
Well, there's some supposed to be new alternates. I thought that was pretty unique. That they had a thing for it, and they rated the top 10 and all that stuff. And I go, they still got advertisement. I still don't know what team it is by who's on there.
You look over here.
Then they tell you.
On the chest.
Which is cool, because it took me many, many years to figure out what team is on. Well, Cruz, look on the shoulder. It's got their freaking club logo. So, yeah, I was slow to the race.
And then for the French League, PSG hosts Montpellier, trying to extend their 4-1 lead from last week, try and build on that. And we'll keep an eye on that for the rest of the year.
How come when we watch soccer on TV, even though I got the box, I can get them all now if I want, any game. But when we watch in TSN, they only play Premier League mostly and some La Liga, right?
Some La Liga. Sportsnet has some Bundesliga, but that's about it.
That's about, the Premier League. With the big teams.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
And then TLN, they have some Serie A games on there.
Oh, I did not know that.
It's Italian commentary, but I mean...
Who cares? Yeah. Half the time I got the commentary turned off anyway.
There you go.
We're good. Yeah.
We will move this along from real football to the NFL. We're going to talk a little bit about hard cap talk, waivers, exhibition games versus inter-squad, and a little bit of fantasy. Okay, let's start with this. What did you get out of the preseason? Like the preseason games themselves? All of the above? Like training, whatever. Like, okay, you need a workout. Have you heard Belichick? Right. One of the things that he said, he goes, I don't care what you say. They said, we have the June camp where it's mandatory mini camp. And then you're supposed to come with what you take there, and then you get about 3 weeks to really get into it. He says that's the most important thing, and the most important thing is constant reps from your number one players. So he goes, what you see out there in preseason is a couple of reps from your guys, and then they go sit down, and then you get a guy like Caleb Williams looking fantastic, and then you go, 4 of those guys that he was thrown against in the secondary. They're not going to see the field. They might not even see the field, so be careful what they look for, which gets back to our original argument last week about preseason will get less, because Belichick said you never get rid of it. And I've heard a number of experts say you could probably shorten it, though. Yeah, like have all those inter-squad games and have 2 preseason games, because basically what the preseason games are, for all those guys that are trying to make the team, let's see what they got, because you pretty well have established who's going to play on your team. Sure. You know what I mean? You got 80 Like your salary is going to dictate that. Yeah, and not only that, but then it comes down to this too. The next thing we're talking about waivers and who's not on waivers, okay? They're going to look at a guy, okay, I'm the guy now, okay? It's you or I. We're fighting for the same position. You're the young buck. You're going to make this much money. If I don't make the team, I don't make no money, okay? So I'm on a $6.5 million contract, and you're on a $1.5 million contract. And we look even in camp. Guess where my ass is going? And that's an interesting thing about the NFL and the guy on the preseason team that might make the team because he's got a few more reps in the preseason is taking out the veteran who they think is going to be there, but this guy looks better and you get wiped out. It's interesting, which makes the whole waiver thing coming up in the next 10 days is going to be insane. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a mad dash. Mm-hmm. We were also going to do some fantasy sleepers. Before we get to the fantasy sleepers, there's one other thing I wanted to bring up. And I don't know
how to explain it, but we were talking last week about that, the 5th year signing.
Right.
Okay. And I heard my good Professor Belichick mention agents a couple of times. But from the Crew's point of how I think of agents,
Right.
of doing it. And he says it all becomes a game of chess. And the number one example of that right now is Judon going to Atlanta. He was holding out in New England because he said, I want my money. Now, the problem with him was he lost in incentives because he was injured.
Right.
So he couldn't achieve them, so he lost that money there. So he's a little bit pissed off, so he wants to be beefing again. So New England, who has a policy of, I can't let guys come in the door and dictate how we're going to do contracts, because he goes, there'll be 15 players behind that guy saying the same thing. So if we can't settle with you, the best thing to do is push you down the road. All of a sudden, Judon's down the road, and what's he saying now? Well, where's your new contract? As opposed to the guy in the Jets who they traded for, who still is in camp because he wants his money. But Judon's saying, well, Atlanta doesn't know me. I got to prove myself. What's the difference? You want your money or not?
Yeah, exactly.
There's something weird in that. And then Atlanta signs the Simmons guy for less money than he was going to get in the other team because he got caught in one of those things, but he was nearly an all-pro player, and suddenly they bring him in at less money, almost like stealing him because the contract situation in the other team got just as silly. So I don't understand all of that. Either you pay the guy or you don't. NFL, it's never going to happen. This hard cap and non-guaranteed contracts.
And the franchise tag.
So are people going to start being afraid to use it on big players? What do they use it on? Kickers, punters?
Well, they use it on big players too.
On how many big guys are on contracts? Some linemen, and they know it because they're going to try to get their next year in. Like especially guys that 5
Well,
years.
Baltimore did this with Lamar though, where they just kept franchise tagging him, right?
Only no, they were going to, and then they gave him the.
Okay.
They signed it, and then they just as the deadline came, they moved on. So I don't know. Are they ever going to guarantee contracts in the NFL?
Probably not.
I think it's better if they don't in some respects, but let's be careful because Mr. Williams in Chicago has suddenly got a Sam Bradford-looking contract, and we know what the NFL thinks about Sam Bradford-type contracts. You know what I mean?
Right. So now time for fantasy sleepers?
Sure, then we'll end with a couple of other little things that are interesting about the season.
Okay. So I'm going to do just one maybe not one per position because, like, who cares about kickers or whatever, right? But my quarterback that I think is not getting enough love, I think is going to have a bounce-back season, is Geno Smith.
Really?
Yeah. I think this year with the new coach, he wasn't getting a lot of protection last year. I think that was a big issue.
And they did beef up their O-line. And he does have targets.
Yeah. I think he's going to have a much better season. He's ranked the high or low 20s, I should say, in a bunch of rankings right now. But I think he could be a great found money option for you.
Top 10?
Maybe not top 10.
Then I don't want him. Okay. But in a 2-quarterback league.
Well, I'm in a 2-quarterback league.
Okay, so we're both in 2-quarterback leagues. Okay, I'll Geno Smith. Okay, I'll tell you mine every time you tell me yours. My sleeper, and that is going to be Will Levis. From Tennessee.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he's got a new O-line. He's got a good running back. He's got wide receivers, and he's taken a couple of years to develop. I'm going to say that I think that he could pinch into the top 10. And with my guy, I took in the first round, but I didn't want to say it because that was too obvious to you because Jaden Daniels is there too. You know what I mean? But continue.
A running back that I think could end up being a top 10 guy is Josh Jacobs with Green Bay. Now, last year I almost said Oakland Raiders. Obviously, they had their own problems there in Vegas, but I think a much better Green Bay team is going to be a big help for him.
Not too many, still lots of tread in the tire?
I think enough.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the guy that's going to be probably the number one guy, but he was too high in the fantasy draft, but I think that guy's going to move up the scale. Is that Kevin Williams or whatever, the guy in the Rams?
The Rams?
I think that he's going to be, because Stafford's going to dump off to him all day. But the real sleeper is the kid from Texas in Carolina. They haven't rushed him out yet, but he's got the knee. Brooks, I believe his name is. If he becomes Rookie of the Year, don't be surprised.
Okay. The wide receiver, I had this guy on one of my teams last year, DJ Moore. I think him and Caleb Williams are going to be a nasty combo.
I think that the rookie's going to take away the targets because they've already had better chemistry. How do you say his name? From LSU?
You think so?
Yeah, that could be interesting. There's a lot of mouths to feed in Chicago.
Yeah, Odunze, yeah.
Odunze. Did you see a couple of plays?
I think he's going to be better than one player I will say not to draft is Keenan Allen.
No, I'd stay away from him too. I'm just all kinds of nervous. I think the breakout guy of the year for me on wide receiver is going to be what's his name? Shakir on Buffalo. Is my call as the guy that's going to be. A lot of people say it's going to be Worthy in Kansas City. That'll be that breakout guy. But there's a couple of second-year guys like Christian Watson on Green Bay I think is going to rise because he's over his injury thing. The rookie on the Giants, the Neighbors guy, he looks fantastic, but he's got Daniel Jones thrown to him, so I'm not touching him. But my personal fantasy theory is I went through the teams that I thought were going to have the highest offenses of the year and drafted from that perspective.
Okay. Tight ends. Now, apparently last year was last year was a wasteland for tight ends, but now apparently this year they're saying tight ends are back. You're nodding your head in agreement. You think so?
100%.
I can't believe Schultz on Houston is ranked as low as he is. I know they have a tough schedule, but I mean, good young quarterback. Good team.
I like Schultz, but the other guy is I took what's his name in Buffalo, Kincaid.
He's ranked top 10 though.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he in top 10?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure if he was in top 10, but he's the guy. But if it wasn't for him, it's Schultz because I did draft both of them in my fantasy league. So I'll concur that Schultz will probably have the highest rise, even though. Evan Ingram, who's now ranked in the top 10, who wasn't, I think he's going to rise up more because I think that Trevor, what's his name, is going to be 100% healthy, and he loves his tight end. So I think tight ends are going to be beastly this year. I might start my season, because I got a flex position, I might start 2 tight ends the first week of fantasy.
Okay. One defense I think could be really dangerous this year is the Philly defense. Always, I think they're not being ranked that high, though. They're not getting that much love.
Because at the end of the season, they fell off the cliff. Like, if you look when they were 9-1, they looked like game killers, and everything went west. Now, I'm going to go with McDermott as being a great defensive mind because they're saying Buffalo lost guys, but Buffalo drafted 2 things, wide receivers and defense. So I think that Buffalo's defense is going to be one of the surprises in the league, and I'll put right behind it, which might become number 1 defense, is Houston.
Ooh, interesting.
Well, they got a defensive coach, and they got, 8 guys that are under 25? Same with Green Bay. Watch out for them.
Okay.
Both teams.
I'm going to go pretty deep for my last pick. I think a guy like Thielen on Carolina could be a good late option.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Not too many.
Well, how many other wide receiver options does that team really have?
Agreed. But they got that kid.
Johnson?
Yeah. That got him. He's going to spread the field, which they're going to say because they also have a good tight end. They got a young tight end.
I think Carolina's going to be much better this year than they were last year. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs either. I'm not going to go there. I like them. Tennessee got a much better chance. But Atlanta just beefed up their defense because they just brought Juden in and Simmons. They drafted 2 young guys. They got a solid D. They got a new coach who's also a defensive guy. So Atlanta, not only their defense could be a sleeper defense, they could be a sleeper team to win the most gettable division in football, I believe.
I mean, yeah, but I feel like we're counting Tampa Bay out like we were last year.
Okay, but I'm saying this year has changed. You can't count out New Orleans either. Okay?
I'm not as high as New Orleans as some people are.
We're going to have our football preview, so you better be prepared to pick someone to win that division. So you're going to have to pick Atlanta, New Orleans.
Or Tampa Bay, yeah.
Tampa Bay, because you're not taking Carolina.
No.
So it's going to be an interesting when we get there. You know what I mean?
It will be. And I think that's pretty much it for football. You got anything else to add?
One other little thing. 2 things really. First of all, I think I can get rid of I've watched more of the preseason games. I'm going to adjust to the kickoff.
Okay.
I can't wait to figure out the coach that figures out the seam because they're there. Not everybody's used to playing this way yet. So let's go. I don't know, 6 games in, and let's see what it's going to be. Because it's very interesting. The landing zone is the key to this whole thing. So your kicker has got to be pretty well knowing what he's going to do. When speaking of kickers, the Detroit Lions will have the number 1 kicker in the league this year.
Okay.
Mr. Bates. So I think that's going to be very interesting that we should look at. I like the fact that they're keeping the chains with the, so your dad's probably disappointed in that.
Yeah, he is.
But the chains are coming back. They're not going, I don't know.
They're in semi-retirement.
Yeah, they're gonna still use them because what? They're worried about technology, gambling. I don't know.
I don't trust the chains either. So
so who do we trust?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't see Jesus walking around the field lately. So I'm gonna have to say that's gonna be. I'm glad they're keeping the chains. And the last thing is, if any of those guys want to wear those funky looking
guardian caps,
looks like Kazoo from the Flintstones.
Gazoo
From the Flintstones.
Gazoo.
Is that his name?
Gazoo with a G.
Gazoo, yeah. One of the greatest characters, one of my most underrated cartoon characters. They look like him. But if everyone runs around the field looking like Gazoo, I'm good with that because that means we're player safety again.
Absolutely.
And if safety's supposed to be the number 1 thing in the game, we're going to go for it.
Absolutely.
Anyway, the next time we talk about football will be the House That Happens.
Football show.
And Mr. Pick, if you're listening, we're calling you in.
Absolutely. We'll move this along from players crashing on the gridiron to players crashing on the ice to the NHL, where it's the off-season, but of course there is no off-season in Toronto. But the big news this week comes from Montreal, where they traded Jordan Harris to Columbus for a 2026 second-round pick and Patrick Laine for 2 more years.
Okay, so we keep tabs on the Habs, and I'm glad we're leading off with it instead of the Toronto Maple Leaf report, which is coming. But in any event, I think this is a very clever move. First of all, Laine needed to get out Laine wanted to get out of there, and he wanted to go to a hockey environment. What's more of a hockey environment than the Habs? This is not a Drouin situation.
Okay,
let's cut to the chase here. Don't say Drouin.
I didn't say Drouin.
I'm just warning you during the season if you bring this up.
It didn't even cross my mind.
Okay, well, it crossed my mind. Okay, so let's not say this. I think the key to it is Hughes is very smart. He got a 2nd-round draft pick out of this.
Well, to take on, because he's got an $8.7 million cap hit. That's the big reason why.
100%, and that draft, that's capital. So we've got some capital out of the deal. Not only got a player who has got a potential to score 30 goals immediately, upgrades the top 6 line on Montreal if he plays to half of his potential. I don't know who he's going to play with because we got Kirby Dach coming back too.
They're speculating he's going to play on the second line with Dach.
What's wrong with that? I'm just wondering who's the other guy that's going to be on the wing with him.
They're saying Newhook.
Is he fast enough? Is he good?
I thought you liked Newhook. 2 second-round picks. You were ranting and raving about how it was worth it last offseason.
But I was just thinking that he's a great third-liner.
Oh, so you've come around to my side. Thank you very much.
I will admit he's a third-liner. So what I'm thinking is that somewhere along the line that we're going to see Slavkowski and Laine on the power play a lot.
Yeah, whether or not they're on the same power play. Because Montreal does kind of bring up a problem that they have is they're very right-hand heavy with their forward group. Very right-hand heavy.
I noticed that. Puckpedia puts that little thing beside them, and I go, because I was looking at our defense situation, which leads me to believe when I ask about losing Harris, out of all the guys that we had to lose, and he does still have potential because he's young and he's decent size, but he's not the size.
He's small.
Yeah.
He's 5'10".
He's not like all the 6-footers that we left behind. So we had defenseman capital. So if we had to let a guy go, this was the guy. If I had to pick all those guys that were there, because we still got the Finnish guy that might be coming over. He's coming to camp, the 19, 20-year-old beast. So we got
the Swiss guy, Reinbacher.
Swiss guy. Is he Swiss? Yeah.
Or he's Austrian, sorry.
Whatever he is. Big, skate, move. I don't know how tough he is. Just because you're big doesn't mean you're tough. We know that. But Montreal's got 6 or 7 guys there. We're still going to have to worry about my 2 favorite veterans. But I won't bring that up for now. This puts me to believe that we're fighting for, our future is not now, but it's getting frighteningly close. We should be able to have a lineup that's competitive every night. If we can split the 1-goal games that we lost last year, just go 50-50 in those games, people are going to be looking at us. We might make that jump like Detroit did last year. Now, Detroit didn't make the playoffs because they fell off at the end, but I think somewhere during the season, we're going to be looked at like Detroit was last year. And I'm not saying that as a bias. I'm just saying that the way we constructed our team. And the only thing I worry about, too, is that make sure our goaltenders, do we definitely. Now, one of these guys is going to have to prove that they are number one or they're a great tandem. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, this definitely puts you guys in great contention or not in great contention, but like in great position for last year, for this year, coming year.
Yeah.
I mean, you definitely look better than Buffalo right now.
That's not saying much.
I'm just saying, well, you finished last, so like you got to think, okay, who can we pass? Right?
I think that we're going to take a bigger jump than people realize because I know the history of the Habs, and I still bet you that we're getting to the conference finals as quick as Toronto.
Are you better than Ottawa? I think that's a legitimate question this year.
Ottawa is going to be one of those when we get into our hockey preview season. We'll have lots of things to say about Ottawa because
I'll have lots of things to say about every team.
Okay,
I'm
good.
pretty sure. But
okay, well that's good to know that's coming down the pipe. But Ottawa is interesting. And their owner is not no dick around guy.
No, he's not.
Okay, and same with that guy in Utah. Mm-hmm. He's already talking. He's got some cap space, but not as much as he thinks he has.
No, and he's already used some of that up. Speaking of cap space, the Laine trade with Montreal. So it puts you guys in a little bit of a weird position, not this season, but the season after, where you're going to be losing Savard. You got to sign Primo to a new deal, and like you'll only have like $9 million cap space to deal with. So it's going to be interesting.
I think that we'll be able to they'll dance because he's only got 2 years left, and I think that was the key because we knew contracts were going, and our big guys are already signed.
Yeah, they're locked in.
They're locked in. So, and if we get another 4.5 jump in the cap, which is supposed to happen next year, then I think that we could slide. We're going to be tight. Like this, that we haven't been this tight to the cap in a couple of years.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're going to win, you go to the ceiling.
Yeah, well, that's my whole point is like that you started the clock essentially.
Yeah, 100%. So let's go Habs. You know what I mean? Mm. But I think we got a bigger story we got to talk about here.
Yes, the Edmonton Oilers decided to not match the offer sheets for Dylan Holloway or Philip Broberg. They made a couple moves to help facilitate it. They traded Cody Ceci and a 2025 third to San Jose to Ty Emberson. I thought that would be to make some cap space to allow these RFAs to come back, but not the case. Although they did trade a 4th-round pick to Vancouver for Podchaser, so they kind of have a replacement for at least one of these guys. But as of right now, there's a big hole in their defense. And St. Louis did end up making like a little bit of like a sweetener trade, I guess, to make that a little bit more palatable for Edmonton.
I don't think Dougie Armstrong was thinking that way, but we'll get to that in a second. My point being is that...
well, maybe. It's like if it doesn't get them to match.
True. My take on this is a little bit different in this way. Edmonton was trying to make deals all weekend before it. They just couldn't... but who were they trading?
Ceci was the big one, and then who's the other guy?
Was a winger, I heard, was on the trade table too because they didn't want to let anybody, their defensemen, go. Because basically this Broberg guy was a top 4 guy. And the guy
he was more of like a third pair guy, wasn't he?
He played top 4 all during the playoffs.
No, are you sure?
Yeah.
No, because their top 4 was...
he played with Bouchard most of the time.
No, that was the Finnish guy, wasn't it? No, they're both right-handed shots.
Well, he was out there.
No, I'm pretty sure Broberg was like third pair.
Well, his minutes were good in the playoffs. And he was out there on the penalty kill a lot.
Yeah, but he wasn't getting 20 minutes a night.
But he was getting 18, 19. But
that's
third
pair.
There. Okay. Neither here nor there on that. I'm just saying that it was interesting that St. Louis made...
another guy was Kulak, so another defenseman that they were looking to move. But
but it didn't go down.
Yeah.
In any event, we were talking off mics about this, which we both thought was interesting, is that why don't people use the offer sheet more often?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Well, according to Doug Armstrong, it's no gentleman's agreement.
He didn't get the email.
Yeah.
I thought. Isn't that what he said? I didn't get the email. And I don't care if my mother was the general manager of Edmonton. I'm not. You can throw in your Scotty Bowman.
Stan Bowman.
Stan Bowman cracks in a minute. But I'm going to look at it like this, okay? I don't understand why you do this more because the problem with it is the draft pick compensation. To me, I think this is kind of genius in a way for Doug Armstrong because one of these guys was an 8th pick in the first round, and one of these guys was a 20th pick in the first round, and they were all drafted since 2020. Last time my math said that these guys are under 25, 26, 25. So they still got a chance to develop. So what did they do? If these guys even play up to their average or deemed as their capabilities, they gave up a 2nd round and a 4th rounder to get potentially 2 first rounders if they work out that way. Personally, I think that's a pretty good gamble.
Yeah, I mean, I have some problems with evaluating players like that, though, because like you're not what you were like 4 or 5 years ago. You are what you are now.
Agreed. Well, no, Broberg's been ascending.
Sure.
That's why he's the guy that's the most interesting.
But he was also drafted 5 years ago. So, like, I mean, there's first-round busts all the time.
What was he drafted, 2022?
2019.
And Holloway was drafted
2020.
Okay, so 5 years ago. Okay, anyway, a defenseman usually takes a few years to develop. I'm just saying he was on the ascension. I think it was a crafty move. If this guy ends up playing 20 minutes a night to help St. Louis, that's a bonus.
Sure.
What's every team in the league
and
looking for?
And you just got to give up, what, a second and a third for these two guys?
Second and a fourth.
I thought it was a third.
In any event, the draft compensation, I think, was well worth the gamble.
It's peanuts.
Yeah. Well, again, because you never know what you're going to get in the second round. You never know what you're going to get in the third round.
First round picks I feel very differently about in this situation, but seconds and thirds, like.
Okay, so that's the danger is if you were trying to do an offer sheet to a guy on a say like a Marner or like a Slavkowski, which we have noticed that these guys always get signed a year before they get
just to avoid that.
Just to avoid that, which is that the gentleman's deal amongst the GMs?
Well, that's not a gentleman's deal. You can't offer sheet a guy when like he's not free agent.
Okay, but I'm saying, so what they're doing is it's a pattern around the league.
Everybody that's just preventative measures. That's not a gentleman's agreement.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So they don't open the door to that because they don't want to see who gets in trouble. Because a long time ago, who was it? And I could not believe it. Some Edmonton offered a sheet to get Dustin Penner.
Yeah, from Anaheim. I remember that.
Burke was going to fight Kevin Lowe.
But Burke said it wasn't because it was an offer sheet. It was just because like Lowe was just being a slime ball about it, apparently, according to him.
Whatever the case may be, there was like that was bad blood. Okay, so obviously there's something to be said about what Doug Armstrong's doing. We have a history of two guys that want to fight each other.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay. Well, yeah, that's the most famous word in the planet. But the bottom line is, then there's something going on. We used the C word, didn't we? Mm-hmm. Is there some collusion going on here?
I mean, Doug Armstrong didn't seem to get the memo.
So my take is...
maybe it's just hockey guys just being too scared to use it.
Or whose toes they step on, or we'll get a better deal down the road. There's dominoes to this.
Sure.
I get it. But I'm still saying that. What does the NHLPA say about this? Those weak-ass, protect our players, get them the bag, the whole 9 yards. What are they saying about this? This is just slapping them right in front of their faces. Agents must be loving it. Because they'll be the ones pushing it. Put the offer sheet on. Come on. They've got to be on the front page of this. Where's the NHLPA in this? When all this kind of stuff comes up, somebody should come out and say something about protection of the players?
Well, wouldn't they want offer sheets?
What's that?
Wouldn't they want to be offer sheeted?
Come out and make a stance on it. So, what's wrong? Is this better for our players? Where are the NHLPA? Are they that scared of management?
I don't know if it's that. I don't know if that's the issue.
Okay, you said you'd agree. Do you think there should be more offer sheets?
I would think so, yeah.
We did some studies. The closest one I could find, and mostly it's minor league guys or lower length guys, is that there's been 52 tendered since the break when Ovechkin and Crosby came into the league. I can't remember 52. I thought that number was kind of outrageous.
Are you sure? Because like I saw a list and it was a lot less players.
12 players tendered.
Yes.
50 players targeted it.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Sorry, I got that messed up. So obviously, people were dancing around the chance to let's see what we can do with this. What did they do? They backed off. My question is, why is the back off?
Probably the compensation for the draft picks. That's what probably scares a lot of teams off. Because I heard with Marner, there was a couple teams that were kind of like thinking about it, but then you have to give up 4 first-round picks.
2, isn't it?
4 for like if it's like a certain amount, then it becomes 4 is the max.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that would scare you.
And that's for like those superstar guys. Like that's what it's going to cost.
Okay, so I don't think anybody would ever do that. But I mean,
you'd have to be crazy.
Okay, so let's just
because who's going to be in a position to have all that cap space and also think like, oh yeah, these next 4 picks like they're not going to be high, so I don't care about them. That's a rare situation, super rare.
So what if Nylander got on the market? Do you think he would have fetched 4 first-round picks?
He would have had to. Because otherwise, what's the point of doing an offer sheet if you know the other team's just going to match it? Which is what happened with Calgary when they offer sheeted Ryan O'Reilly. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
It was so stupid because it was it was a situation too where like they would have had to put O'Reilly on waivers if they signed him, so they wouldn't have even been able to hang on to him, and they would have lost the draft picks.
Okay, so who did they? That was a bit of a pissing match too.
Jay Feaster was the GM of Calgary,
and who was he dealing with? What's his name? Oh. There was that wasn't exactly smooth water situation either. So there seems to be something coming up when they're in closed doors in the GM. Let's put a fly in there and say what they're really saying, because it must be one hell of an argument. If you ever do this, buddy, if you ever do this, you know what I mean? That kind of shit. And why are you doing that? Okay, we won't do that. And then they come out and they tell us this is how the game is played. And we're going, no, it's not. Something seems to be wrong here. You know what I mean? I will acquiesce to, I wouldn't give away a player of such a stature for that many first-round picks. It's just too risky.
Even so the Broberg, that's going to be a second-round pick. The tier above that is a first. Then after that, it's like a first and a third. And then it becomes like 2 firsts, 3 firsts, 4 firsts.
I'd dance with a first and third.
Depending on the player. Do you think it was worth it for Edmonton to give that first and a third for Dustin Penner?
No.
There you go.
Obviously, but okay. See, what's the guy that just got signed in Florida? He got a little less money, but Nylander, and they said Reinhart. So what would Reinhart been worth if he got an offer sheet?
Probably
not 4 first rounders. No way.
Oh, at that cap?
I don't know.
What was the cap at? Like 9?
8 point something, I believe. Maybe 9.
Yeah, so like at least 2, probably 3 first round picks.
I'm thinking it should be that 1 and a third. Stop it. Maybe they'll change the rules next time around and say on the offer sheet. Maybe that's what'll come to the table. Or the agents in the NHLPL.
Oh, no. So for him, it would have been 2 firsts, a second, and a third.
Wow.
So, yeah, it goes first and the third. Next tier is a first, second, third. Then it's 2 firsts, a second, and a third. And then the one after that is the 4 first-round picks.
Then I guess this conversation is to be continued.
Yeah.
Like
forever and ever.
And never again. But you know what I mean? Like, what if you're in a position like Calgary and Anaheim now? They got like 10, 20 million. They got money to burn.
Yeah, but your draft pick's going to be shit. You're going to lose that.
Couldn't they steal somebody a little bit lower?
No, but how it works is that you have to give up your first round pick as those compensation.
Automatically.
Yes. So it can't be like, I own this team, so I use theirs. No, it doesn't work like that.
Interesting. I'm just saying that when I heard that, and then I went to Puckpedia to back it up, like, I did not know any team in the league had the cap space that Anaheim and Calgary have. I just went, whoa, wait a second here. Is that a misprint?
Nope.
Oh, my God.
Anaheim was like that last year, too.
How do you compete?
They're not trying to compete.
Like, you know, it blows my mind. The only way you win is you try to circumvent the cap. You know, it's like throwing spitballs. If you can get away with it, do it. You know what I mean? And I don't understand why any team in the league, especially to respect your fan base, spend some money.
Yeah, Anaheim, it's turning into a big shit show there.
Could that be the team that ever leaves there someday?
We'll see. The rumor is San Diego's knocking.
That's what I heard, too. When did you hear that? Recently?
Yeah, this year.
Yeah, I heard that. It came out of nowhere because it actually came up in a Padres conversation about franchises coming in there, and San Diego is still pissed that the Chargers went to L.A.
Yeah, went to L.A.
It's a very, very bigger sports town than people realize because the Army base there is massive. Mm-hmm. And it's conducive to supporting sporting teams,
sure,
basically. You know what I'm saying?
In other hockey news, Gabriel Landeskog is looking like he's actually nearing a return. They're actually targeting a start near the season, near the start of the season.
I hope so.
Missed 2 full seasons since they won the Stanley Cup with Colorado.
I hope that he plays really good because you know that that's something that's they could put him on that LTR.
He is on LTIR.
Yeah, okay, so now he's going to come up because one of the things that come up in the Edmonton thing was the Evander Kane situation.
They're not going to LTIR him.
That's why I thought that was freaking fodder for content.
Yeah.
Exactly, but I hope Landeskog comes back. I liked him as a player.
Me too.
Big contribution on those Stanley Cup wins, So all the best to you coming back.
And the Philadelphia Flyers waived Ryan Johansson with his $8 million left for what they're calling a material breach. So it's probably end of the road for him in the league.
Allegedly.
What do you mean allegedly?
Isn't that What's a material breach?
Some sort of breach of contract, I imagine.
I bet you it's got something morally.
You would think.
I don't want to. That's why I said allegedly. That's why I want to use.
Well, no one's saying what it is, so you can't really say allegedly.
Well, they can't say that he beat his wife.
No, don't even say that.
Okay, well, whatever. I'm just saying. When you heard material breach, what did you think?
I didn't even. I'm just like, he must have done something bad.
Oh, he said. I said he did something very bad. You do something bad. We get the paper. You go sit in the box for a little while. Material breach means I don't even want to speculate. Exactly. You know what I mean? But that's a bad move. And I believe what you said is he'll be playing in the KHL.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll move this on to a little bit of talk about the Leafs.
Oh, yeah. Great.
What'd you have to say?
You're bringing it to the Maple Leafs?
Yeah.
Good.
So Yanni Hakanpää, that's the news that's been talked about a little bit recently, where his contract situation is still a little bit up in the air, like Puckpedia and sites like that are reporting that he has a contract. The Leafs have still not officially announced it. Apparently, the deal is Hakanpää thinks he can play. The Leafs do not, and the deal is his knee is basically bone on bone.
I wonder who's got what doctor's reports coming in. I bet you they're coming from 20 different doctors saying what's going on, because this is a tricky situation, don't you think?
Well, if it's bone on bone, you can't have this guy play for your team.
No, he could be out at any given time, and you're going to give him money to get on the ice.
No, it's dangerous.
So what do you say they're going to do with him?
It sounds like this contract's not going to happen.
So he'll be playing in the KHL.
If that.
Yeah, bone on bone, serious. I really feel sorry for the guy, to tell you the truth. When you hear that information, that's career-ending shit. Sorry for the guy. I hope he gets better. Hope we see him on the ice.
Yeah.
That's all we can say. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And what did you want to bring up for the Leafs report?
My weekly Toronto Maple Leaf report is actually something that's going to surprise you people, because I want to be putting in something positive I have to say about the Toronto Maple Leafs. How's that?
Okay.
So what I don't understand is Toronto is a well-respected franchise south of the border, more than most teams that are in this situation. So one of the things we don't like is, we were talking about this last week, and this just blows my mind, is when we were discussing the NHL Network and who does all this shit, they said that Toronto was the 30th worst organization in hockey, which was the biggest bullshit nonsense I've ever heard in a long time. So I will defend Brendan Shanahan and the crew. You're top 10 easily. If someone said you were top 5, I would even let you go there. So these same morons who have decided that the Leafs are the 30th worst organization in hockey has picked them as a top 3 team to win the Stanley Cup. I saved this for the show, because when they flash
funny
that,
how that works out.
How does that work out? I want to know. First of all, you drag their dicks in the dirt, and I live in this city, so if I do that, that's a different story. But you Yanks down there in whatever network you're doing,
you can't play that card. You're not even a Leaf fan.
I didn't say I was. I just say respect the city. And you know what I mean? Do something. I'm not hating on the Leafs. Come on. I'm trying to defend them right now. This is one opportunity the whole world can say Cruz is saying good things about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm of the defense that I've lost a lot of respect for that aspect, which is a network like MLB and NFL Network and NBA, whatever, all have these things where they try to promote their league and they do their things and weird shit goes on. But when you have yin and yang of that drastic thing in 1 week on your network, how can I give you credibility?
I don't know.
So I look for the old guys that talk about hockey. When they bring on those panels, they flash the list. I go, NHL Networks, I think I'll switch to the Bruce Lee channel. You know what I mean? Don't you find that odd, though?
It is odd.
I couldn't say it. I think the top 3 were, I think Vegas was back in there, too. I forget.
Edmonton?
No, Edmonton drops and say...
New York?
No.
Jersey?
Jersey was mentioned, but no, they threw
Boston, Florida,
Colorado. They had Colorado, I think, in there. I'll have to check it again. But Toronto was in the top 3, and some of the guys were arguing that they should be the number 1 seed to win the Stanley Cup. And I'm yelling at the TV, what about the 30th worst organization last week, you schmucks? I'm not using you to gamble on. What kind of bullshit are you trying to feed me?
I have no idea.
Isn't that insane, though?
Insane.
Insane. I agree.
We'll move this along to Major League Baseball, where Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett had some interesting words about the team once again.
That guy should learn to shut the front door. Okay, first of all, it's this. Everybody knows my opinion on Bassett. I think he's a third starter on your team. He can eat some innings, and he has too many pitches. And every time something goes on, he's got something to say. So how can I let you say, I said that on the air months ago. Where's your left turn? Oh, you don't have one? But for a guy to say that also says that his breaking ball doesn't work when the dome's closed or some shit like that. How can I balance what you're saying, Mr. Bassett? You go, well, yeah, they didn't take a left turn. And that's the same reason why they had to open the dome. My breaking ball would have worked, and shut up. Shut up. That's all there is to it. And what was your last start? Let's look at his line on his last start.
Well, it's not just about your last start. It's about your whole season.
Okay, but I mean, like, that was a clunker. To be saying all this shit in the middle of a 1.3 inning outing where you gave up 7 runs, shut up. Shut up. But come back next year.
Yeah, well, they're running it back.
Oh, yeah, they have to.
The only question is whether or not they're going to trade Bo.
I think that Bo shouldn't play for the rest of the year, but they say he'll be up at September 1st. He's going to be.
Well, they want to show him off so that you can trade him.
Winter meetings, right? Winter meetings. So let's get back to one thing. Let's big shout out to Vladdy Guerrero for being the hottest hitter in baseball and continue to be since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Easily the hottest hitter.
Give him the money.
Give him. Have we done it yet? I called up Brinks and said, get ready. I just haven't found Vladdy's address. But when I do, Brinks go right to the door, back it up. When he opens up the door, he can't go anywhere.
There's a lot of talk about him moving to third base next season.
We had this discussion. He's played great. You see him last night? Made a couple great plays in that disaster.
And Bassett himself said he thinks Vlad can play third base. That's a pitcher.
I think he can play third base too. I think he's got the range. He's definitely got the arm. I'm just saying that I'm glad he's gotten much better shape he's in, and he's more athletic than he's been in the last couple of years. So I'll go with that. Stay with your trainer. But I'm worried about wear and tear. So I already told you, if we can work it out this way, 30, 40 games at third base, and he's going to DH 20 to 20. How many did he DH this year? I think he's working on his 15 games. He's
probably like that.
He's around there. So if we get 20 games out of him as a DH, that might balance the 30 or 40 games that he plays at third base. Don't you agree?
Now, how about this, though? What if we have a chance where we maybe can't get a third baseman through free agency, through trade, but we can get a really stellar first baseman?
Then we'd have no choice. I think Vladdy would welcome it.
Of course he will. He wants to play third base. He's made that very clear.
Well, then he's still young. He's only 24, turning 25. So if we had to turn the keys over to him at third base, I'm not opposed to that at all. I'm just worried about the wear and tear. But there's some wear and tear at first base, nothing like there is at third base. No. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it that way. Okay, so I'm saying, like, yeah, if he wants to play third base all the time, let him do it.
I think that's enough for the Blue Jays.
Oh, no, there's one other thing we got to bring up. If they don't keep these same guys for the rest of the year, I'm going to lose my mind. How are we going to find out how good they are?
What do you mean?
The lineup, the 24 guys they got in the dugout, leave them there.
I think that's the plan.
I've heard rumors. This guy's coming up. We move
on you're going to call up a few guys in September. That's the way it goes.
Oh, yeah, and the numbers have dropped.
You're only allowed to call up like 5 now.
5 like that. So whoever the 5 guys are, I'll take those. But I'm saying even when those 5 guys come up, I don't want to see a lot of them. I want to see Loperfido more. I want to see Howitz more. I want to see Wagner more. I want to see Jimenez more. And let them have this 40-game sample, which is a pretty good size, and see what we're looking forward in the next spring training. Because as Mr. Pick so eloquently pointed out to us last week, you're not going to win with number 8 hitters.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe some of these guys could advance, maybe they know. But give them 40 games like some of them already played about 10. There's 30-some games left. 30, 35 games left. That's a decent sample size to see what these guys got. So I don't want, if they start tinkering and doing all this, it's going to drive me nuts. I'm still watching the game.
No, I think they're trying to build for next year. So I think they want to see that lineup just as much as you do.
Yeah, I'm hoping like hell. Like if I get up there September 1st and there's some guy in the lineup I've never heard of, I'm going to be pissed. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I know who Wagner is now. I know who Barger is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I know who the guys are there. Because Schneider's not going to be back next year. There's 2 or 3 guys not going to be back. I don't even know if Severin's going to be back as a catcher. Maybe we'll find somebody else.
Yeah, that all depends.
Yeah, because he's not looking like He's a batting practice guy, catcher, and all that. It's spring training guy and all that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anyways, Jays, just be competitive. Don't do look. We're not going with the season. Look what happened last night.
Well, that Cincinnati series was a weird one.
Oh, well, after all we've done lately, this is one of the weirdest series in the world. So I'm predicting we'll get one weirder.
Against the Angels?
Oh, we swept them. So we should be
No,
good.
well, they're playing them this weekend.
In there, in L.A., though.
No, at home.
Oh, we got them
Last time we were in L.A.
Oh, yeah, right. No, then we should sweep them.
That'd be nice. We're up 5-0 right now.
Ooh, good. That's good to hear. Did Vladdy get a hit?
I don't believe so.
5-0 this early. Vladdy got a hit.
No, he didn't.
All right, yeah, walk.
No walk either.
That's good. That bodes well for the team. He can't put it. He's not Cody McDonald carrying the sluggers. Okay.
No. Mariners fired Cervais as their manager, replaced with Dan Wilson.
When did this happen? Like today? Like how?
6 hours ago.
Okay.
So is this waving the white flag or is this desperation?
Desperation all the way. That's funny because I was up very early this morning, earlier than usual. I was up at 8 o'clock.
It dropped at 2 p.m.
Okay, so I was out doing things, visiting my ex-wife in the hospital. We're hoping she's getting much better, needs to get a little stronger. But doing my duty to my son. We're taking good care of her. But in any event, when I left this morning, the speculation on the hot stove, not that I'm watching too much network television. It's okay. Like I don't MLB, NFL Network, NHL Network. Okay, whatever. When I got up for the hot stove this morning, they were talking about why and if this was going to happen. And I was kind of riveted because what they're saying is it's definitely desperation because the team can't hit. Two biggest hitters are injured.
And they've fallen back to 500. They're 5 games back of the Astros now for first.
Top 5 pitching staff in majors. You know what I mean? Like this is the biggest fall off for Seattle. This is a disaster.
What do you mean?
Season.
This is like every year for Seattle. They find a way to stub their toe like
But they were in the
this.
playoffs last year.
Okay, but like
out
think
Toronto
about like the
2 years
10
ago.
years before that, though.
Okay, so
like
now
every season has been like this, where like they're looking like they're good, they're in contention going into mid-August, then all of a sudden, like the last quarter of the season, like the wheels fall off.
Okay,
this is the Seattle Mariners, like the last 15 years.
I would say, but the last 2 years they were in the playoffs, weren't they?
Okay, but like they
were supposed to be going forward. Yeah. This is desperation because they don't want to fall back, and they have the pitching staff. They're atrocious hitting. The only team's hitting worse is Chicago.
Ugh.
Okay.
But that's the White Sox.
Yeah, the Chicago White Sox, which may be the worst team in baseball history, is saying now, which is sad.
Could happen.
Yeah, saying worst team in whatever it is. But Seattle, they're done. They can't make wild card. They're not making nothing. And how many are in the lost column behind the wild card? I think they're 4 games in the lost column in the wild card.
I'm not even going to look at them in the wild card.
No,
like,
they're
7.5 back of Minnesota. It's not happening.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it was 6 or 7 in the lost column, whatever it is. They're not going there.
8 in the lost column.
8 in the lost column. They're done like dinner. They're not going to lose to Houston. Houston will find a way to get there. The veteran team got enough pitching. Verlander came back. He lost, but he pitched good. Mm-hmm. What was it? 6 innings, gave up 2 runs.
Okay.
6 innings, pitched up 3, so he's going to be a solid starter. So, and it's time to look around the league to see who's doing what. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you look at it that way, which I know my new pretender team is. 100% I know who my new pretender team is. You must know who it is, don't you?
The Yankees?
No. Fuck the Yankees. And not only that, if they beat out Baltimore, I hate Baltimore too. What's happening with Baltimore? Don't have a 4th starter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the Yankees don't have a 4th starter.
But they find ways to win.
I can't believe it. But you know what it is, though? It's this Soto Judge driving the team. Garrett Cole had a good start, but now he's resting for a start. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. A couple of other guys that Rodriguez and I come out. Stroman suddenly had a couple good starts in a row. And they're always hitting.
Yeah.
They're always hitting, which is my theory is, I said last week, and then I heard something that went, what? Hitting might get you the World Series this year, and hitting's way down.
Yep.
So my theory, just according to analytics, is I'm completely nuts. But every night I'm watching the games, I'm going 10-8, 8-6, 7-5.
Yeah, but that's not sustainable, though.
San Diego Padres should be the team that everyone is most scared of. When you look at their bullpen now, they've built it to a point where if they get to the 5th inning, you're probably not scoring for the rest of the game. They got 3 front-end starters and a kid that came up from the minors who's doing okay like Francis is doing in Toronto. So basically, they're ready for the playoffs because they basically got 4 starters they can deal with in that mad bullpen. They hit as good as anybody in the league, and Machado's leading the charge. He's coming on strong. So my thing is, the Dodgers, who are God's gift of baseball, their pitching rotation's in a funky place right now, and their bullpen is not as good as frickin' San Diego's. So I'm saying that, and there's only 2 games difference in that lead, isn't there?
4 games.
They're behind by 4. That's right, because suddenly San Diego lost a couple when they got right to 2. Didn't they lose 2 in a row? And
the Dodgers have won a few in a row now.
Yeah, finally. I think they're on a 5-game winning streak.
4-game. Yeah, and 7-3 in their last 10 as well.
Yeah, so they've suddenly come around to hold on to it. But then guess what? Both of these teams have to deal with Arizona.
Yep.
A team that I kicked in the head, in June 1st?
I couldn't believe you kicked in the head.
I thought they were going to beat Texas. Remember I said I don't think Texas is going to make their way back. I don't think Arizona is going to make their way back. And bingo, here they are. I'm going, whoa, what happened there? But they've got a pretty good front-end pitching start with Eflin or whatever his name is, the next 2 guys, and a good closer. Number 1 defense in baseball.
Yep.
And above average top 10 hitting. Now, their pitching is adequate, but when you look at it, it's really bottom 10 in the majors.
They're hitting?
No, they're pitching. However, that was because they had such horrendous numbers in the first 2 months of the season or first 60 games that if you took the segment that they've been in the last 50 games, suddenly their ERA is top 10, which I didn't know about. So over the course of a season, if I'm judging it like they got one of the 10 worst pitching staffs in the league, let's look at the last 40-game sample size. That's what I've been hearing. But I still like San Diego better in that division. I think San Diego, they got to break through sooner or later, right?
You think this could be the year?
Are they going to just be like Toronto, get right to the door and then they'd lose it? I don't know. Because I thought last couple of years San Diego could be there.
I mean, right now, the way it lines up, they would play Arizona in the first round of the playoffs. So that would be very interesting.
I would love that, and I would even go as wild card as to say that team could win the World Series.
Why not?
Atlanta's in big trouble because they got so many injuries.
Reeling right now.
Yeah, and not only that, and Andropoulos, who gets more, which he should, more props than a lot of people in baseball. What is he going to do? Hope for the waiver wire?
I mean, what else can he do at this point?
Well, they're saying that there's more teams might pull
what the Angels did last year?
The rumor has it there's going to be 3 or 4 teams that do that, which is going to expose players.
Yeah. And if you don't know, last year the Angels dumped 5-6 players right before September.
Right before September, and they say word around the campfire, Toronto might be one of those. I don't know who they'd put on waivers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know who would make sense
Schneider,
for that.
who's going to pick him up?
Yeah, no one.
Go around.
Because the purpose would be to lose money, but or to dump salary. But I don't know.
Swanson?
Aren't you hoping that he's going to bounce back next year?
I'm hoping like hell.
Yeah, so I don't think that makes sense for the. Maybe there could be a guy missing, but I don't see it.
They always talk about which teams could do it. Detroit might be one of the ones that they're talking about too, because it looks like they've fallen off the cliff. They might let Skubal only pitch once a week for the rest of the season because of that. What we're doing with starting pitching and nonsense. So we'll have to wait and see on that.
Anything else for baseball?
Just one of the things that we did notice when we were talking about the National League being the craziest September of all time is suddenly faded before our eyes. The pack is separated, and as you said before the show, the St. Louis Cardinals are going to have a losing record for the back-to-back for the first time since when?
That was in 65 years or something like that.
That's insane. I was pointing out to you, which everyone should know, it's the St. Louis Cardinals. If you know your baseball history, ooh.
Well, up until now, they've been a model of consistency in my lifetime.
Generations.
Always in the playoffs, if not right there.
Some of the best World Series I've seen, St. Louis against Milwaukee. Some of the best playoffs I've seen, St. Louis against the Mets. All that kind of stuff. They've been, to me, a model franchise. My favorite guy, Michael Wilbon, can't stand them because they kicked the shit out of Chicago Cubs too many times. But, the only thing I was going to say is about the rest of baseball is people should be, if you're not, like they say the baseball thing's down, it's a niche sport, and it's localized so much in this day and age. This is the time of the year to start watching baseball, people. It's really heated up. I don't get the scores of the game, bro. That's really starting to blow me away, but it is only August 20, whatever.
August 22nd.
August 22nd. If I see these scores on September 8th, I'll be going, oh my God.
All right, so we are approaching the end of the show. A short one for you this week, or short at least by our standards. But
we're trying to keep it this way.
We have another trivia question for you.
Oh.
Brought to you by Steven once again.
Steven, we expect to see you here for the preview show.
All right, F1 is back this weekend in Zandvoort. To celebrate, can you figure out which driver clinched his second F1 World Drivers' Championship at the Swiss GP on this day?
Lewis Hamilton.
Bonus point if you can name which team he drove for. So I can tell you it's not Hamilton.
No,
because
it's not now. I got to know that.
Well, it's also because auto racing was banned in Switzerland from like 1955 up until like last year.
Really?
Yeah. After the Le Mans disaster.
Oh, right.
They just banned auto racing after that.
So who is
Which is
one?
ironic because Sauber operates out of Switzerland, but whatever.
Rephrase the question one more time.
Which driver clinched his second championship, driver's championship on the Swiss GP on this day, August 22nd?
Is it somebody in the last 10 years?
No, because I said auto racing's been banned in Switzerland since the 50s.
Oh God! So Gilles Villeneuve.
No, that's after that. I'm gonna say Graham Hill.
Wow! Let's see the answer.
And for team, I don't know. I don't even know who he raced for.
He raced two. He played for. I think he did Williams at one time when Williams was big, wasn't it?
This is before Williams. Williams is 70s. They started.
Was it McLaren then?
Unlike, I would say, I don't know, like, was it BRM or something like that?
Oh, I forgot.
The answer is, Juan Manuel Fangio. So it's earlier than I was thinking of.
Wow.
So the team he raced for like every team back then. So I don't even know. I would say it's probably Mercedes or Ferrari. Let's say Mercedes. Oh, Maserati.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was a back in the day thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was a crazy question, Steven.
I kind of liked it myself. Keep them coming. Makes my brain work a little bit farther and helps me fight Alzheimer's. So please put that more questions, please. We love it.
And do you have a gospel?
Yes, I do. Can we begin?
It's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. It's the gospel according to Cruz.
Okay, you know what? I've been finding lately that we have this weird infatuation with this thing called lists. Okay? Now, first of all, I think lists are there so we always have content to talk about stuff and be able to compare eras and do things that was going on. So the first thing I want to take out of this whole equation when we're talking about lists is I don't want to talk about nostalgia because I will get into the talk about eras, but let's get nostalgia out of the pictures. But that's what we're doing because like just lately we just had the ESPN's top 50 of all time of the 20th century, so to speak. We just had the NHL Network completely make a fool of themselves talking about the top 30 organizations that work in hockey. But what we don't understand about lists is what is the criterion? Who is putting on this, and why don't we have a public display of your information so we can learn how you establish what your opinion of greatness is? Now, what happens is the world is going so fast these days. Let's, for example, in my lifetime, did I ever dream that I would be able to go down the street with my album collection in my pocket and listen to the whole thing when I had 27 crates that I couldn't carry anymore? Of course not, because we've had that much advancement in society that everything should advance accordingly. However, I just want to thank the Russos of the world, the Tony Kornheisers of the world, to remember that it's always a performance-based situation considering the conditions of the sport at the time. So, when we look at that, I say to myself, everybody's got a subjective view on who they think the greatest are. Okay, so just say yours is different than mine and I had a list and they say, well, Cruz, what's your top 5 or 10 athletes of all time? Well, it's going to be easy for me to say because I'm going to say Tom Brady, I'm going to say Tiger Woods, I'm going to say Guy Lafleur, I'm going to say Muhammad Ali if you get my drift. And someone else could come along and say Kobe Bryant, blah, 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 because that's your personal thing. And you say you try to mesh it together and we'll all get some kind of consensus. What people have to understand, though, is if we have this much advancement in mankind, like communications in 1970 are a lot different than communications in 2024, shouldn't it mean that every sport that goes on should have same kind of exponential advancement in their games? So therefore, thinking of just a communication standpoint, we would have an improvement in the game just because everything around is improved in the world. You know what I mean? Communications, electronics, equipment, training, blah, blah, blah. So we have that variance going on there. So when you think about it from that point of view, it got me watching a game, which I told you about, from 1994. It was Game 6 between the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. At the time, it was a great season when Mark Messier brought the Stanley Cup back to New York. But what fascinated me about the game is, I said, let's use a comparison of hockey to say, how do we get era to era? Back in when I watched that game, it was Game 6. The Jersey was up 2-0. Of course, they stormed back because it was a series of the greatest hits of Mark Messier. He scored the goal that went ahead and scored another goal. And it was 4-2. And of course, when the game got to the last 2 minutes, they scored that empty net goal. All the monkeys came on the ice. So who was playing for those teams at the time? On one side, we had Ken Danico. We had Scott Stevens. We had Zaprasov, the only tough Russian I've ever seen. Meanwhile, on the other side, Messier had made sure he loaded up with his nut bars, which were Tikkanen, Anderson, Kevin Lowe, and they all had a little bit of scoring. The interesting thing about that time is the number one scorer on both teams were defensemen. Scott Stevens had led his team in defense that year.
And Brian Leach for the Rangers.
No, it was actually Sergei Zubov.
Oh.
Led his team in playoffs that year, which I found very fascinating.
Interesting, because Leach got the Conn Smythe.
That's the next level because that went on there. But isn't that interesting that year? How many times you see in the last 10 years that a defenseman has led their team in scoring, except for maybe Carlson and somebody else?
Yeah, Carlson's the only one that comes to mind.
There was somebody else too. The guy with the beard that plays
Brent Burns?
Yeah, I think one year he led his team in. But in any event, the evolution of the game is such. That's a very rare thing that's interesting. 30 years later, how many guys have you got your team leading and scoring? No, we got everybody else, because that's how the game has gone along. Another interesting thing about the game was not only the stupid goonery, which I'm glad that they've gotten out of the game, even though I like organic toughness if it comes into the game today without the bullshit, is they didn't have they had the center line in there. So that toughened it up. But we even make you talk about the evolution of the game. I could not have this little discussion about why I was talking about that era of the nine, because you know who the two coaches were. Oh, by the way, Jacques Lemaire on one side, Mike Keenan on the other side. Enough said if you know about the history of hockey, because these mofos are going to slow it down to in the sand and beat you to death, left wing lock, all that other nonsense in hockey that we got tired of because it slowed the game down so much. So the advancement is what? If we're going to slow the game down, we got to speed it up in the new era. Let's take out the center line. So automatically, one of the things that I came to realize is that when you're watching a sport of today, it does look aesthetically better. There's more flow, not necessarily more scoring, but there's a different intensity, a different attack, a different ever. I'm not saying that game wasn't intense, because it was when it was 2-1 Jersey and then Messier scored to tie it, the intensity level of the game went through the roof. I'm not saying it's the right kind of intensity that you would see in 2024, because some of those elbows and Danico and Tikkanen and doing stuff that would not happen today, so that takes away from it. So we're going, well, where are you getting at this era stuff? Well, I've come to the conclusion that we have to find a different way of looking at how you compare the eras. And I said I'd have to go off the record and figure out another thing that we can talk about to compare it to. So I've decided the best way to look at it is cars. You know, every day we drive a car, right? Some people drive K cars, some people drive Lincolns. However, cars from 1940 are not the same as cars in 2024. Agreed?
Sure.
Different performance, different whatever. What goes on. But my point is this. There are some cars that last the test of time. If you see a Bugatti made in Italy, which I've only seen one that was at a car show, that's the greatest car I've ever seen in my life. Have you ever seen a Thunderbird with the suicide doors from the 60s? One of the coolest cars of all time, transcends all generations. 1972 Corvette with the front end loaded. Car that transcends all the time. Nobody's talking about that Volkswagen Bug from 1972. They're talking about the Vet. Okay, let's get a little later. We have the DeLoreans that came along. Let's not talk about what, again, I'm going to say your great country. What about a Lamborghini? What about a Ferrari? Those cars will be talked about for the test of time. Well, let's move it over to hockey. Is anyone talking about Earl Thomas? Is anyone talking about Gary Doak? Is anyone talking about Yvonne Lambert? No, you know why? They were K cars, Volkswagen Bugs, utility van. So let's talk about the Maseratis, the Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, and the Cadillacs. We don't have many, but we can call them Bobby Orr. Mm-hmm. We can call them Wayne Gretzky. We can call them Mario Lemieux. And we can call them Sidney Crosby. So from now on, when I'm going to talk about a list and what I find the greatest, I'm going to remind people that the exponentially advancement of society should exponentially move the sport forward to greater and greater things. However, the greatness that behind us can be represented in certain ways, hence the reason I use the cars. So I'm going to say, what are your greatest cars in the history of hockey?
Greatest cars in the history of hockey?
Like if we compared players to cars, what would your players be? Who would be your Maserati? Who would be your Lamborghini? Sidney Crosby's got to be in there. You know what I'm saying? My point is these particular players could have played in 1940. They could have played in 2024. Yvonne Lambert, I don't think would be making the league this time. You know what I mean? What's the defenseman? One of the guys in the Rangers back there, a couple guys, they would never play in the league today. Brubaker. A Brubaker. They would not make the league today. So hence the reason every time I say a list, give me some history, give me some era, and give me some substance. Not the Toronto Maple Leafs are the 30th worst organization in hockey, and the next day they're the third best team to win the Stanley Cup. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Got it?
All right. I think that's we're ready to wrap it up here. Any plans this weekend?
I'm hoping to do a little bit of nothing, and when I'm done doing nothing, I'm going to find nothing to do.
Very nice. I'm hoping to do a little bit of nothing myself when I'm up at Algonquin.
But you know, when you see things that we're doing nothing, we really do a lot. Like I'll probably have a guitar in my hand for 60 to 70% of every sporting event I'm going to watch this weekend. I'm sure I'm going to watch more than 2 games. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Any other shout-outs?
That's it.
Got a couple people in the neighborhood I want to shout out to. They gave me... I got seen on the news, and I actually knew that one of the neighbors actually see me on the news and actually listening to the podcast.
Nice.
And you know what? I know his dog's name's Cody. And the other guy's dog's name is Zorro. So if you guys are listening, give me your first name next time, because I walk by you 100 times, and we talk, and we know our dog's names. Probably know my name is Cruz, but I don't know yours. Shout out to all the people that are listening to the show. We appreciate it very much.
My name is Andrew Milani.
My name is Cruz.
And we keep the vibe alive. You can find The House That Happens on Podbean, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart Radio, Player FM, Samsung, Podchaser, Boomplay, YouTube, and SoundCloud. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at The House That Happens, and follow us on Twitter at House Happens. You can also shoot us an email at thehousethathappens@gmail.com.